Hello and welcome to the Saltwater Report. It is Monday, February 23rd, and we got a lot of stuff to get out to you, lots of news to get out to you. Fishing reports, seawater surface temperatures have changed dramatically since the last report we did last week. Things are warming up. This is good news for us. But in the fish report, variety of tuna to talk about, not only bluefin tunas, got lots of king mackerel to talk about and black sea bass as well. And we got some viewer catches. I love the viewer catches. They're always my favorite. In the news department, flounder. Oh boy, at the Marine Fisheries Commission meeting last week, they revealed that we could have had both Gulf and summer flounder seasons. And so why are we just having the Gulf flounder season? And what's the problem with this Gulf flounder season? We're going to talk about that. We got some more news about Atlantic Bonito, Sheepshead, the Marine Fisheries Commission doing a 10-year review. That's mandatory, by the way. We got a tournament trail to get out to. As I made mention, sea surface temperatures have changes. We got the wind and sea report, coastal weather forecast, and a whole lot more. Take a breath. All right, now we're going to jump in the news. We've got a lot of news stuff to get out to you. And hopefully I'll stay in my light this time. I've been accused of not. In the news, Gulf and summer flounder update. There's been a lot of chatter about why North Carolina is opening a short Gulf flounder season this spring from March 9th to March 22nd, but not summer flounder. In this excerpt from last week's Marine Fisheries Commission meeting in Kitty Hawk, division staff walked through the reasoning step by step, including how Amendment 4 works, why the spring season was designed the way it was, and the federal management constraints that kept summer flounder off the table for 2026 and 27. Here's the commission discussion in their own words from last week.
The division is in the process of implementing a portion of Amendment 4. Amendment 4 management strategy allows for a spring oscillated recreational flounder season, which includes Gulf and summer flounders. This season is limited to the ocean using hook and line gears. The spring season was included in the plan to provide recreational fishermen with opportunity to harvest summer and Gulf flounder during a time when they are less likely to catch southern flounder. As I'm sure you are aware, this season was never utilized in Amendment 3 due to concerns for quota overages during previous fall seasons and the possibility of anglers mistakenly harvesting southern flounder. This season is now feasible given the recent sector allocation shift in Amendment 4 to 50-50. However, North Carolina cannot open a spring season for summer flounder, which is jointly managed by the Mid-Atlantic Fishery Management Council and the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission. These entities require recreational summer flounder regulations remain status quo in 2026 and 2027 based on harvest estimates compared to the recreational harvest limit and the stock's biomass estimate compared to the biomass target. This means that North Carolina's recreational summer flounder season in 2026 and 2027 must align with the fall flounder season. Based on this, the division is opening a 2-week Gulf flounder only recreational season from March 9th to the 22nd of this year. The opening will be limited to ocean waters only from the north end of Portsmouth Island to the South Carolina border to limit catch of summer and southern flounder. Harvest will be limited to hook and line and be held to a minimum size of 15 inches total length and a bag limit of 1 fish per person per day.
So the Marine Fisheries Commission revealed to us that the Mid-Atlantic Fishery Management Council and the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission require recreational summer flounder regulations remain status quo in 2026 and 2027 based on harvest estimates. It isn't the Division of Marine Fisheries' fault. So those other two entities that we had to adhere to. Now, here's the problem. There's more than one, with the short Gulf flounder season during the March 9th through March 22nd Gulf flounder window. Near shore temperatures off North Carolina typically run, what I'm showing you now is from Rutgers University, but near shore temperatures off North Carolina typically run in the upper 50s to low 60s during that time of year. Now what I'm showing you, I believe, is March 13th of 2025. So this is what we have to look forward to. So unfortunately, Gulf flounder tend to like warmer waters, somewhere in the upper 60s and low 70s. The warmest waters are in Raleigh Bay this time of year, and you hear me talk about this all winter long. The warmest waters during the winter are in Raleigh Bay, and they cool down once you hit Cape Lookout south. So try to get an average is kind of almost impossible. Moral of the story is for that Gulf flounder season in March, the waters are really just too cool for what those Gulf flounders like. So don't anticipate too many catches. So we'll keep you clued in with that. Now, the Atlantic Bonito, the North Carolina Marine Fisheries Commission has taken a step towards state management of Atlantic Bonito, advancing draft language that includes a 5-fish recreational bag limit. The proposal would also give the Division of Marine Fisheries Director proclamation authority with commission consent to set additional recreational and commercial rules. Staff will now complete a fiscal analysis ahead of a possible notice of text vote in May. I love the gibberish. If approved, that would launch the formal rulemaking process, including a required 60-day public comment period later this year. Now, I'll keep you informed about that, please. And any public comment, please. All right, Sheepshead, just as a reminder, the recreational bag limit for Sheepshead drops from 10 fish per day to 5 per person per day, with a minimum size increased to 14 inches total length. Now, this is probably the most important part, how you measure. It's now measured with the tail pinched. So not fork length, which goes from the fork of the tail. It's now you got to pinch it and measure it that way. State managers say the change is meant to reduce pressure on juvenile fish. All right, a little bit of good news. Just want to slide this in. The Newport River Fishing Pier maintenance is complete. That's the pier that runs beside the big high-rise bridge in between Morehead City and Radio Island. It is back open to the public. This pier is located, this is how they describe it, at the base of the Newport River high-rise bridge next to the boat launch. Okay, it's the pier that runs beside the high-rise bridge in between Morehead City and Radio Island. I'm not going to give their goofy address. Here's interesting something or another. I didn't even realize the Marine Fisheries Commission has a 10-year review. The Fisheries Commission has completed the first step in its state-mandated 10-year review under state stuff. It's initially, I put it underneath here. It initially determined all 335 rules remain necessary. I didn't realize they had 335 rules. So this North Carolina general statute that I listed underneath here. Public comment on that determination is scheduled from March 2nd through May 1st in 2026 with additional details. Please, public comment. I didn't realize that Marine Fisheries Commission had that many rules. Now, let's jump into this. I'm going to jump into the sea surface temperatures because there are some big changes. We're going to get into wind and sea conditions and our coastal weather forecast. Let's take a look. Time for our wind and sea report and our sea surface temperatures, brought to us by Satfish, the satellite fishing technology folks that bring us this information both in real time and forecasted. We have got a lot to cover. The sea surface temperature stuff is very, very exciting. But first, winds, as you can see here, is 6 a.m. Monday morning, February 23rd. Pamlico Sound, 28 knots. Winds up here in the northern Outer Banks, almost 34, 35 knots. Down here to Cape Fears, around 26 knots. What happens tomorrow morning? Tomorrow morning, winds are still coming out of the west-south-west, but in Pamlico Sound, you see it's going to be a little bit calmer, 18, 19 knots. Northern Outer Banks, 18, 19 knots. Down here in the Cape Fear area, around 17 knots. Here in Onslow Bay, 16 knots. What about Wednesday morning? Well, the wind shifts. Here we go. That's a south-southwest wind. In Pamlico Sound, it's 25 knots. Up here in the northern Outer Banks, around 18, 19 knots. Cape Fear, 22, 23 knots. Here in front of the Bogue Banks area, 22 knots. That's on wind. Let's just take a look at Wednesday afternoon. Well, it just starts honking. Here in Raleigh Bay, it's 32 knots. Here in Onslow Bay, in front of Bogue Banks, 21 knots. Northern Outer Banks, 14, 15 knots. Thursday, what happens Thursday? Well, the wind's coming Gulfstream, well, if you're inland here, it's coming out of the south. If you're here, it's coming out of the west. Pamlico Sound is around 10, 11 knots. Northern Outer Banks around 12 knots. Cape Fear around 15 knots. Here in front of New River, about 10, 11 knots. Does it? What happens later on? Well, it's still the same direction, pretty much the same thing, about 20 knots or so. Now, let's go on and take a look at our sea surface temperatures. All right, let's take a look at these sea surface temperatures. And no, this is not what you're used to looking at. You can see that down here is North Carolina. Up here is Massachusetts. So I'm showing you New England, the greater part of it. Why? Because we got some viewers out of Virginia that I said I'd talk about sea surface temperatures about today. This purplish color, that we can't get a reading. But the blue readings here, it's around 45, 47 degrees. But what I really wanted to point out, as you can see, it warms on up to 57. These guys got to go out a ways to get into warm water. But here, this orange, this is the Gulf Stream. Notice how it just says, once it hits North Carolina, it says, I'm going right, see you, wouldn't want to be you, going to Europe. But it's around 74, 75 degrees. Now, when I switch back down to North Carolina, I want you to pay attention how close this Gulf Stream right here is to Hatteras. All right, down here in North Carolina, here's that Gulf Stream that we were just showing you going off of Virginia, then making that right, heading on east towards England. But look at this. Look at the Gulf Stream. Look how close these warm waters have moved on into the point of Hatteras. I mean, that is just like almost baseball throws away. Right off the south beach of Hatteras, it's 48 degrees. Then all of a sudden, they're in 66 degrees, and it warms on up into 71 degrees. This is phenomenal. Now, we've got a lot of changes to discuss to show you what's been going on with these water temperatures. Again, off the North Carolina, it's the 40 degrees. But let's look up in here in the Albemarle Sound. Watch these temperature differentials. Here you got 41, 42 degrees. We're working on up 41, 42 degrees, 43 degrees, 44 degrees, 44, 45 degrees as we work on up the Albemarle Pamlico Sound, 43 degrees, 40 degrees, 42 degrees. Watch this. Watch as 46, 47 degrees as we head on up the Neuse River towards New Bern. 50 degrees in the Neuse River. That is just quantum leaps, jumps forward over the past week or so. Let's pull back out here. So that's, well, actually, why'd you do that, William? Let's take a look here at Beaufort Inlet. It's around 45 degrees. What about the Cape Fear? What's happening in the Cape Fear River? We got 48, 49 degrees in the Cape Fear River. So things have really started to warm up with those winds coming out of the south. They should continue to warm up. But again, let's work on down here, Rodanthe, Waves, Salvo, Avon areas, 44, 45 degrees here in the Onslow Bay area, working on in towards the beach, 47, 48 degrees. Watch this, somewhere around in here, 46 off of Coral Banks, Portsmouth Island, 48 degrees. We're getting around 50 degrees. There we go, north of the lighthouse. Just east of Harker's Island, 50 degrees just right off the beach here in the Onslow Bay, 48 degrees all around here, working out here towards the north. This starts getting kind of, here's something else I want to point out. Look at the Big Rock. It's saying it's 60 degrees. No, that's just a big no. These are clouds. This is our fog. We had real heavy fog, so the satellite is reading the temperature of the cloud/fogs that we've had in the area for the past couple of days. So no, it is not 50 degrees at the Big Rock. 73, 74 degrees, yes. So don't want anybody to panic when they see that. Coming out of the Cape Fear area, 51 degrees. Working on out here, oh boy. There's Frying Pan, 65 degrees. I can't get these readings like the Swansboro hole or the same old hole because of this cloud stuff that's going on here. But I do also want to point out, as we started pointing out last week, these finger eddies of warm water are moving on in close here to the Topsail area, the Masonboro, Wrightsville Beach area, and anticipate these warm waters to continue to move on in. I'd like to thank SatFish, the satellite fishing technology folks, for bringing us this information both in real time and forecasted. Go to their website, satfish.com, satfish.com. They got so much there that to look at, you won't believe it. Now, let's go on and take a look at our coastal weather forecast. That's exciting news to hear about 50-degree waters in some locations with a southerly wind that's going to blow in that warm waters, and things are going to start warming up very, very quickly. For example, by the way, usually in the first week or two of April, you'll watch the beach water temperatures jump up 3, 5, 7 degrees in a week. So good times are coming. Now, fishing report, good to go sport fishing out of Manio. They say awesome fishing yesterday, 6 for 6 of their catch. So way to go. Oregon Inlet Fishing Center said Saturday specials, bluefin tuna, king mackerel were seen on the docks today. And it's been over the past week or so that we started hearing about king mackerels, and now we're starting to hear about a variety of tunas being caught, not only the bluefin tunas. Sea Dreams out of Hatteras Landing Marina, they said 6 for 7 on bluefins and kept a few king mackerels as well. Kept one nice bluefin for the dinner table. That's a big dinner table. Still plenty of fish around, and we have some days open. There are plenty of fish starting to show back up. All right, Hatteras Blue Sport Fishing. They said finally a good weather day. Good group of folks caught bluefin tuna, blackfin tuna, king mackerel, and false albacore, and released 3 North Carolina citation giant bluefin. By the way, good weather. Raining can still be good weather. Matter of fact, some of the best fishing I've ever seen or experienced has been in the rain. What determines good or bad weather is wind. That's really what it boils down to. Done deal sport fishing. They said the great bluefin fishing continues. 10 for 12 on bluefin today. That was Saturday, with great king mackerel fishing mixed in and a bonus blackfin. Longer day sport fishing, they said started off hot and then got a little slow, but we picked at the Kings during that time. Ended on a high note with a nice fish on a spinning rod. All right, Breakwaters out of Moorhead said had some bites today. Not the greatest catch, but happy to be fishing. And that here we go, underestimating again. This is not the greatest catch, but the catch looks pretty good to me. All right. Fish Witch out of Carolina Beach said first trip of 2026, and we're starting off right. Captain TJ ran an afternoon 5-hour trip and put our crew on a full limit of black sea bass to start the new year off strong. Cool weather, calm conditions, and steady action made for a great first trip of the season. Nothing better than seeing smiles and a deck full of fish on your first trip of 2026. And again, wind is what determines good or bad weather days. And if you're near the coast, this is one of the things, the weather forecast can be so far off. If you're down here, they predict 30 miles an hour and then it's 5. So take advantage of the opportunities when you can. Viewer catches. Ron Howe out of Charlotte, North Carolina said, Bill, caught this guy Sunday morning surf fishing at Fort Fisher. 24-inch dusky on a high-low rig and a piece of shrimp. Not much, but hey, it's something. Love the reports. Ron Howe out of Charlotte. Thank you very much. Now, Danny Carter. This is why I showed the sea surface temperatures off of Virginia. By the way, ask me, Massachusetts, Virginia, Florida, you want sea surface temperatures? Let me know. And don't say Idaho. Any state, just let me know. Danny Carter, he said, wrote to say enjoys the Saltwater Report and sharing an AI-generated analysis about the upcoming Gulf flounder season. The report focuses on estimated sea surface temperatures from the shoreline out to 20 nautical miles between Southport, North Carolina, and Little River, South Carolina, specifically looking at conditions relevant to Gulf flounder habitat. I appreciate you sending that in, and I wish more people would do things like that, research. Although he was looking at water temperatures out to 20 nautical miles, the averages are going to be, particularly that time of year, are going to be completely different because you get out that far, it's going to be warmer. Inshore in March, it's going to be a lot cooler. But it's fun. Thank you very much, Danny, for that. Keep up the good work. Now, let's go on and take a look at the tournament trail. Email me, billhitchcock@mail.com, billhitchcock@mail.com. Send me your tournament information, your upcoming tournament and tournament results. Let me know. Pictures and videos, most appreciated. And if you have pictures and video of you catching a fish, big fish, little fish, I don't know fish, send that on in. Doesn't matter if you're a peer, charter boat captain. By the way, nudge some charter boat captains. Tell them it doesn't cost anything. Just send it in. I'll air it and the masses will see it. So email me, billhitchcock@mail.com. All right, that's all the time I have for today. Until next time, see ya.